So a while back, I'm out with some friends, one of them single, and he just loved going around talking to the ladies. Now, he's a good-looking guy, he dressed well, and he was in a Target-rich environment. Yet for a period of about 10 minutes, he was getting nothing but people laughing at him. Now, the mistake he made was tiny, and if he would have been wearing lighter colored clothing, probably nobody would have noticed. But that night, it was so in your face, it was almost comical. Now, in my defense, I initially didn't notice. I mean, how often do you stare at another man's crotch? Never mind, don't answer that question. If you haven't guessed it, the mistake was he didn't zip up his pants when coming back from the bathroom. Now, I don't know about you, but I've made it a habit. Every time I wash my hands after using the bathroom, and yes, you should wash your hands, you look at yourself in the mirror and you make sure that everything is on point, including I physically touch my zipper to make sure, yeah, that thing is up. Now, if I remember correctly, we were at a wedding reception. Everyone was wearing dark suits, mostly light colored shirts. And guess what? Part of the shirt was out of the zipper. So it was about as bad as it could be, and it got worse because he had this habit of sticking his hands in his pockets and it just opened it up, and yeah, all of a sudden you've got a tablecloth coming right out of the crotch area. Now, despite that, I think he ended up having a good night. He ended up meeting a woman that he dated for 6 months, but a lot of us don't maybe have the time or charisma to recover from a mistake like that. And as tiny as it is, it just goes to show that small mistakes can really screw up your style. So what are the small mistakes that can sink your look? Well, gents, that's the subject of today's video. Now, this next mistake seems obvious, but I still see so many guys messing this up, and that is to wear wrinkled clothing. Trousers should be ironed. Jackets should be steamed, especially if they're made of wool or a synthetic, and your shirts should be pressed. Now, a couple quick hacks here. If you're going to buy an iron, buy a more expensive one that has lots of holes down in the base. That is going to be a steam iron. It gives you more options. It also heats up quicker and more evenly distributes the heat. Lastly, if you're pressed on time and your shirt isn't ironed, but your jacket's looking good, then just iron the front of the shirt. In particular, pay attention to the collar and the cuffs and the front placket. These are the key areas that you want to make sure they look good. If you don't take off that jacket, no one's going to see at the back, and the sleeves of that shirt are wrinkled. Which gets me thinking, wouldn't it be nice if you could just grab a shirt out of your closet and it always looked good? A shirt that was comfortable to wear, had a great looking collar and placket, like a polo shirt that actually could be worn as a dress shirt. Well, gents, if you would love to get your hands on a product like that, check out today's sponsor, Collars & Co. Now, gents, I've been talking about Collars & Co. coming in on 2 years because I love what these guys have done. Simply put, gents, these guys took the benefits of a polo. They took a 4-way stretch material that wicks away moisture, that's incredibly comfortable. They made it into a shirt that can be worn as a dress shirt, but it's actually a polo in design. And think about that. How many times have you tried to layer with a polo shirt and it just doesn't look right? That's because the collar is falling underneath the jacket. It's falling underneath the sweater. With Collars & Co., you don't have to worry about that. This is a strong dress shirt-like collar that you can wear with your favorite V-neck sweaters, with your favorite zip-up sweaters, with your favorite sports jacket. You can even wear this with a suit. Right here, one of the most important days of my family, we're at the baptism of my daughter, Marina. Yeah, who's this other guy here with me? Guys, point being is, as you can see, I'm wearing these shirts when I want to look good, when I'm taking pictures that I want to stand the test of time. And let's talk about the options with fabrics and colors. Guys, when you go over to their website, you're going to see all different styles. I love how they got the 4 different collars. They got the English spread, semi-spread, Oxford button down, and the cutaway collar. And gents, I'm not the only guy that saw the value in Collars & Co. They took a $1 million investment from Mark Cuban when they were on Shark Tank. And Mark Cuban's been spotted wearing these shirts, doing interviews. So gents, to get the best deal on the web, use that link in the description of today's video. I've also got a code for you, RMRS, use it or lose it. That deal is not going to be around forever. You go over to their website, you're going to get the best deal on the web. So make sure you use it. Now, this next mistake is one I've never talked about because the reality is it only affects a small percentage of men. Guys that don't skip leg day, guys that are former rugby players, guys that have the bubble butt, which under normal circumstances, in the right pair of pants, the ladies love. The reality is most trousers and most jeans are not made for your butt profile. The result is this next mistake that can ruin your style, and that is gaping jeans. Now, if you're wearing your shirt untucked, you can get away with this, but when you tuck in a shirt, all of a sudden the world can see that you've got 3 to 4 inches of excess fabric around the waist area. And the worst part is a lot of guys don't even know they have this issue because they're not looking at what they look like from behind. Now, the fix is relatively simple. You don't have to go out there and buy new jeans. You just simply dart the waistband. Right here, you're going to bring the fabric together, and all of a sudden, it's going to look so much better. This next mistake, tiny, but it can ruin the whole look with a single accessory that is supposed to enhance your look. Guys, I'm talking about the wrong watch band for your watch. Now, with the majority of my watch bands, I go with steel. I'm not too hard on them. I rotate through. I've got quite a few, and I find that as long as the steel has a nice shine and isn't too scratched up, you're good to go. Where this can be an issue is when you get a nice dress watch and that leather strap starts to wear out. All of a sudden, it just starts to fall apart, and you're still wearing that really nice watch, but the strap, not so much. Now, when you get into watch straps, you realize you got tons of options. Not only do you have various leather colors, but you got leather types, and you could even bring in rubber or silicone. On those latter two, understand that they're going to make even a dress watch more casual. The same being said for NATO straps, especially in brighter colors made from nylon. These materials are going to make the watch casual. My point is, pay attention to the strap. Make sure it's appropriate for the situation, and if it starts to wear and tear and the watch is still great, guys, just simply upgrade the strap. Have fun with it. But don't let it sink your style. The next tiny mistake that throws off the look, not getting your gig line right. So what's the gig line? Guys, it's a military term, and it refers to the alignment of the seam of the uniform shirt, belt buckle, and uniform trouser fly seam. In order to be properly dressed, all three of these should be aligned. Now, if you were to meet me in person, would I call you out for not getting this correct? No, but it's just a good reminder of where these things want to be so that we get a nice uniform look and we allow the eyes to go up and down. Another very simple rule to note is the always, never, and sometimes rule when it comes to buttoning your jacket. Now, the majority of jackets out there are going to be 2-button jackets. And what you want to remember here is the top button is always buttoned when you stand. When you're seated, you can unbutton it, but that bottom button is never. Now, in case you're wondering why it initially started off, we were influenced by a king and the style trends that he put out. But over time, what happened is designers started actually making these suits to be worn and to fit and to look good with that bottom button. But when you button it, all of a sudden it changes up the silhouette. And for most men, it's just not a flattering look. Now, what if you're wearing a 3-button suit? So in this case, it's going to be the center button that is always, again, the bottom button is never, and the top button is optional. Now, why would you want to button up that top button? I think it does give a little bit more of a formal look, but sometimes you're going to have a jacket that is known as a 2.5, and this is a 3-button that is not designed. It's going to fold over at the buttonhole. So in that case, you do not button it. Now, what about if you see a 1-button jacket? So this is often going to be in black tie or a custom coat for a shorter guy. In this case, always button the button. When standing, when seated, you unbutton it. Now, double-breasted jackets are pretty rare, so I'm not going to go into that. And if you've got a 4-button jacket, that is an abomination. Get rid of it immediately. Now, this next mistake may seem simple, but when you mix this combination, it's like oil and water. It's just off, and people that know style are immediately going to spot it. Other people are going to get a feeling that something is wrong with your outfit. What am I talking about? Mixing lightweight fabrics with heavier weight fabrics. Basically, summer clothing with winter clothing. Now, can you do it? Yes, there are some people that are able to pull this off, but in general, linen trousers should not be worn with a winter wool jacket. A heavyweight sweater should not be worn with close-fitted lightweight trousers. It's oftentimes the thickness of the actual yarn, the weave, and the thickness of the material. It just doesn't feel right when you've got something really thick next to something thin. Now, if you're layering, it's a whole other story. Yes, I've seen guys wear linen shirts underneath wool sweaters. But in general, try not to combine those lightweight with heavyweight fabrics. If you're advanced in style, you can break this rule, you can go for it. But really, formal clothing, you probably shouldn't be wearing with casual clothing. That combination right there, a tuxedo jacket with a pair of jeans, you may think you're fashion forward. For everyone else, you're just, we're going to look back at that picture in 20 years and we're all going to laugh at you. You included. Next up, let's talk about unintentional trouser length. And this applies to jeans, any pants. You want to make sure that when you buy a pair of trousers, you get them hemmed appropriately, especially if they are with a suit. In this case, you're going to have a few options: dress slacks, chinos. You can either go with no break, which is going to be a little bit, if you're a smaller guy, you're 5'2", I think no break looks great, especially with close fitted trousers. If you're 6'4", then in this case, you're probably going to want to go with what's known as a full break. This gives you a little bit more room. And I think this is more of a natural look because when you're walking and stepping, you're just simply going to use more fabric and you don't want to be showing off your socks. Now, in between there, we've got what's known as the half break and the quarter break. And I think that any size man can pull this off. Again, even a larger man can go for a quarter break. Even a shorter man can go for a half break, but a full break, and that's really where you've just got a lot of bunching at the bottom. Most likely it's subconscious to most people, but it makes it look like you're wearing trousers that are too big for you. And the same thing for taller guys. If you're going with the no break, it makes it look like you're wearing high waters, wearing trousers that were made to fit your kid brother. Now, jeans are a different animal. Still, you want to pay attention to the hem because it really depends what are you going to wear with those jeans. You're going to wear boots. Are they a boot cut? Are you actually going to be stacking the jeans with the boots? Are you going to be wearing sneakers with those jeans? Are you going to maybe try to pull off dress shoes? In any case, make sure that you don't have a whole lot of excess fabric unless you're wearing boots with them. Now, really quick, let's talk neckties. I know most of you guys on a daily basis don't wear neckties, but when you do, it's important that you nail this. That's why these rules are probably more important than ever because you don't have as much practice wearing a necktie. So first up, if you're wearing it with a jacket, you want the necktie about the same width as the lapel. If it's too much wider, if it's too much thinner, it's just going to look off. So if you have a jacket and it's a thin lapel jacket, maybe it's a skinny suit. So in this case, you would wear a skinny tie. That proportionally is going to work right. The same thing applies if you've got a wider lapel, you want to have a wider necktie. Now let's talk about the length. You want it to end at about the belt buckle. Now this doesn't need to be exact, but if you're an inch above the belt buckle or you're 2 inches below it, all of a sudden it's just going to look off. And if you are in a hurry, I would rather err on the side of it being too long and just simply tuck it into your pants. Yes, as long as you keep your jacket buttoned, no one is going to notice. And finally, let's talk about the colors in the necktie. Keep it simple, keep it muted, don't go over the top. I see a lot of people wearing a pocket square that matches the necktie. You don't want to do that, and especially you don't want to go with something in a really bright color. Despite what some of those stores may try to sell you with neckties with the matching pocket square bright colored combination, it is not a good look for any man. Now this next mistake, I think I violated at some point in this video, but don't show off your undershirt. Now in this case, I got like 3 buttons unbuttoned, so I'm going for the whole sexy suave look. Now seriously, if you're going to wear an undershirt underneath, you're going to open up the shirt, try to go with something that has a deep V-neck. You don't really want to go with that white across. I know some guys think this is a good look. When I was in the Marine Corps, for some reason, this was the way the uniforms went. In the civilian world, for most people, that is not a flattering look. Now, what about wearing a cologne? Can you mess this up? You bet you can. Guys, I've got you covered in this video right here, how to properly wear a fragrance, how to not overspray, but also how to spray enough, and a number of other things that you want to avoid when it comes to wearing cologne. So how to wear it properly, guys? Boom, I got you covered in this video right here.